Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're taking a look at some really powerful excerpts from the novel The Kite Runner, the sources you've shared.
That's right.
Our goal here is to really unpack these specific moments. Go beyond the plot points,
Hmm.
explore the relationships, the historical backdrop in Afghanistan, those deep personal struggles, and, well, the whole quest for redemption that runs through it.
It's quite a journey these passages cover, from childhood in Kabul right through betrayal, exile, life over in America, and then that incredibly difficult return.
Exactly. It really shows how the characters' lives are just so wrapped up in the huge historical shifts happening around them. Personal stories colliding with national history.
Absolutely. Let's start back in Kabul, in that childhood world. It feels idyllic in some ways, doesn't it? But also, you sense shadows there already.
Yeah, you get these memories playing in trees, sure, but really focus on the dynamic between Amir, the narrator, and Hassan. It says Hassan never denied him anything,
That loyalty is key, even in mischief. Like Hassan using that slingshot, which he was apparently amazing with.
right? Firing walnuts at a dog on command.
And even then, Ali, Hassan's father, brings in this cultural religious layer, telling them stories his mother told him, like about the devil shining mirrors to distract people praying.
And he laughs while he does it, he said, scowling at Hassan. It's a small detail, but it points to a world where, faith, tradition, maybe unseen forces feel very present.
And the sources give us more than just those personal bits. They really paint this vivid picture of Kabul life before everything changed. The Buzkashi tournament, for instance.
Oh, yeah. Afghanistan's national passion. You get the feeling of chaos, the raw energy horsemen, the Chapandas fighting over that carcass, the ground shaking, the crowd roaring.
It's pure physical national pride. And then you contrast that with, say, the warmth of Eid celebrations.
New clothes, visiting family, Eid Mubarak, kids with gifts, playing with those dyed eggs. It really establishes the richness of the vibrancy of that culture, helps you understand what was lost later.
Definitely sets a baseline. But even in this vibrant setting, a darker figure appears quite early. Asif.
Right. Son of a friend, lives in a fancier part of town, Wazir Akbar Khan.
And he's immediately unsettling. The sources mention his reputation for savagery even before he shows up. Those stainless steel brass knuckles.
Yeah. And despite having a German mother, Afghan father, blonde, blue-eyed,
Yeah.
he just embodies this menace, walks around like a Khan, ruling the neighborhood.
And that nickname, Asif Goshkor, the ear eater.
Chilling. The story behind it, too.
Yeah.
Some kid losing an ear over a kite fight, and the adult narrator looking back just flat out calling him a sociopath.
It's stark, and he notes there wasn't really a good Farsi word for it, maybe suggesting it was a kind of evil that felt almost, foreign to their understanding.
What's interesting is how that introduction immediately connects to the tension in Amir's own family, specifically with Baba.
Mm-hmm.
You have Rahim Khan trying to gently spear Baba, saying Amir needs to find his own way. But Baba's reaction is so intense. He's scared. Scared that a boy who won't stand up for himself becomes a man who can't stand up to anything. He's worried, maybe disappointed.
Yeah, a real fear about Amir lacking that sort of traditional strength.
And right in the middle of that pressure, we see where Amir finds his own validation. It's writing.
And Hassan's reaction is just pure gold for Amir. Mashallah, Amir Aga. Bravo. Genuine belief that he'll be a great writer.
Amir clearly thrives on that specific, honest praise. It really highlights how important that early bond was, based on stories, admiration, before everything gets tested.
Which brings us, unfortunately, to where that world starts to crumble. The first signs of real violence.
Gunshots, explosions,
Yeah.
described as foreign sounds. Terrifying, because they weren't normal in Kabul then.
It's that moment they sense, maybe without fully grasping the politics, that this was the beginning of the end.
And the sources tie this feeling directly to what was coming. The communist coup in '78, the Soviet invasion in '79. It wasn't just noise, it was the sound of their whole way of life starting to break apart.
Yeah, the arrival of these huge external forces.
And this leads us into something really central and, frankly, difficult to talk about. The betrayal.
Set during that kite fighting tournament, the excitement, the crowds, Ahmad Zahir's music, who was kind of rebellious himself, right? Smiling while singing.
Right, all that energy, the beautiful blue kite winning.
And then that moment of triumph, immediately followed by Hassan running the kite shouting, "For you, 1,000 times over."
Such loyalty. Right before the ultimate test.
Yep, and then the alley scene, the aftermath. The source is just brutal about Amir's choice. In the end,
I ran.
he tries to justify it to himself first, Cowardice, fear of Asif, getting hurt.
But the deeper truth he faces later is what he calls the real reason. That horrible thought echoing Asaf, that nothing's free.
The twisted idea that Hassan might be the price for finally winning Baba's approval, and that chilling, almost throwaway thought. He was just a Hazara, wasn't he?
Awful. It just lays bare how that societal prejudice seeped in, even in that crisis, letting him distance himself from his own inaction. And the aftermath of the betrayal itself is so raw. Amir pelting Hassan with pomegranates, desperate for punishment himself, trying to provoke Hassan, calling him a coward.
It's pure projection, isn't it? Trying to unload his own guilt.
Which all leads to that confrontation back home about the stolen money and watch.
Baba asks Hassan directly, and Hassan just says, yes, quietly.
Amir sees it instantly. Hassan's final sacrifice. Taking the blame, maybe to protect Amir, maybe just accepting his fate.
And Baba's reaction, given he'd said theft was the one unforgivable sin?
He says, I forgive you.
It's a massive turning point, right? Baba, the man of rigid morals, forgiving the very thing he said was unforgivable.
And for Amir, it's deeply confusing. Why could Baba forgive Hassan this huge thing, but still seem unable to fully accept him? It really makes you question Baba's own secrets or compromises.
Definitely raises questions, and the immediate result is devastating. Ali decides they have to leave.
His quiet statement, we're leaving. Life here is impossible for us now, putting his arm around Hassan.
And Amir sees that cold, unforgiving look in Ali's eyes. He knows. He knows Hassan told his father everything. Asaf, the kite, the betrayal.
And Amir's reaction is so complicated. Dread, yes, but also this weird sense of relief. Glad that someone knew me for who I really was, almost tired of hiding it. Shows how broken everything had become.
A complete fracture. From there, it's exile. That awful journey out of Afghanistan, crammed in the fuel truck tank, like being buried alive.
And life in America brings new struggles. Baba getting sick, coughing blood, the shock of having no health insurance.
Baba's reaction is pure defiance, though, isn't it? Refusing sympathy, chain-smoking, almost railing against God.
Yeah. And Amir, facing all this uncertainty, actually turns towards faith. Reciting Quran verses he half remembers, envying the mullah's certainty, looking for something stable.
We also see his new life taking shape through meeting Soraya Taheri. That moment she mentions sad stories making good books, revealing she knows he writes. That's a connection.
It is. And the sources give us a glimpse into the Afghan community's norms in America, too. How fathers and sons talk about women versus the strict rules around daughters and suitors, the Kastigar. Protecting the family's Nang and Namuz, their honor. Old traditions in a new land.
And Soraya's bravery really stands out when she tells Amir about her past. That line, her secret was out, spoken, dealt with.
Such a stark contrast to Amir. He explicitly envies her openness, which just highlights how buried his own secret about Hassan still is, years later.
The past trauma is still very much alive for him, but we also see compassion in this new family. Soraya suggests they live with Baba while he's sick, calling him Kakajan, showing that respect.
Her care for him is detailed so tenderly. Tea, helping him move, pills, reading, preventing bed sores, a different kind of family bond forming.
And Baba's decline is shown through these small, heartbreaking details. His suit not fitting, needing help with his tie, his shoelaces.
Amir noticing the empty spaces Baba would leave behind. A quiet acknowledgement of what's coming, and maybe their unresolved issues.
General Taheri, Soraya's father, adds another perspective. His slight disappointment that Soraya is teaching, not aiming for law or politics. Those cultural expectations again.
And Soraya's mother loving Amir mainly because he solved her biggest fear, her daughter not getting married.
Yeah, complex motivations all around. The struggles in Amir and Soraya's marriage are touched on too: difficulty having children, Soraya's distress, another layer of hope deferred.
Later, reading that letter from Rahim Khan, seeing a photo, it sparks this huge reflection about Baba. The idea of him being torn between two halves.
Amir seeing himself as the entitled half, carrying Baba's guilt without even knowing it, and Hassan as the unentitled, unprivileged half, who somehow got the best, purest parts of Baba.
And that devastating thought maybe Baba secretly saw Hassan as his true son. It just reframes everything.
It really does, and maybe that understanding fuels Amir later when he stands up to General Taheri, telling him never to call Sohrab Hazara Boy, insisting on his name.
A small act, but huge in context, breaking that cycle of prejudice.
Which brings us, finally, to the return, the reckoning. Rahim Khan's call is the trigger. There is a way to be good again, a way to end the cycle, with the little boy, Hassan's son.
It directly links the past betrayal to a chance at redemption.
The journey back with Fariz is just stark. The contrast between Farid's life jihad, fighting Soviets, eating locusts, losing family to war and landmines.
And Amir trying to describe America. 15 kinds of cereal, 500 channels. The gap is enormous. Farid's joke, the Mullah Nasruddin one, is almost painful in its brief relief.
It's a tiny moment of shared humanity amidst the bleakness. And Kabul itself, it's devastating. Familiar places ruined, like Pashtunistan Square, the Khyber restaurant.
That horrifying detail of the ignored hanging body,
Yeah.
the normalization of brutality, war-torn areas like Kardaseh, ruins, Taliban slogans everywhere. Even Baba's house, once so grand, is now this picture of fallen splendor, smaller, damaged.
Searching for Sohrab leads them to that orphanage, and Zaman, the director, reveals the awful truth about the Talib official, visiting, bringing cash, taking children, usually girls, but not always.
Unspeakable. The depth of the cruelty under the Taliban.
Farid's rage at Zaman is understandable, but Amir stops him. The children are watching, chilling. Farid can only spit in disgust.
And then the confrontation with Asif, now a Talib official. The scene is bizarre. A guard with a boombox, then Asif's cruelty, and Sohrab.
The resemblance to Hassan is striking, but his appearance, shaved head, makeup, bells, forced to dance, it's horrific.
And the guards cheering, Mashallah, Shabbos, underscores how grotesque it is. Asif muttering, ethnic cleansing, just links this personal horror to the regime's wider violence.
When Amir asks for Sohrab, he sees the boy's eyes like slaughter sheep's eyes, recalling Eid, innocence, violation, just devastating imagery.
The fight that follows is intense, symbolic, really.
Yeah.
Against Asif against the past, and Sohrab saves Amir, echoing Hassan.
And his question, "You are the Amir Aga father told me about," brings Hassan's memory right into that moment of rescue.
So we get to this final part in the excerpts. Moments of hope, quickly followed by disappointment, and just the heavy weight of trauma. Amir has a plan for Sohrab, hospital, money, maybe that orphanage with the Caldwells, travel.
But Sohrab's reaction to any orphanage is sheer terror. "Please, please no," he manages to say. "I'm scared. They'll hurt me. They lie."
Amir tries to reassure him, even uses that old phrase, sour apples from their childhood, trying to connect, but Sohrab's trauma is just too deep.
And when Amir calls Soraya about adoption, her excitement is palpable. "We won't have to do that. She's already seeing them as a family."
But the plan with the Caldwells falls through, and Amir leaves Sohrab, maybe just briefly, maybe unaware of how fragile he is, and Sohrab attempts suicide, leading to that silence. Almost a year, the source says, before he speaks again.
The source reflects on that silence. It's not peace. It's described as a quiet surrender, giving up because he's just too tired to hope anymore. He wanted his old life, but he got Amir in America.
Lifting him from the certainty of turmoil and dropping him in a turmoil of uncertainty, it really captures how trauma scrambles everything, leaves you overwhelmed by demons.
But then finally there's that tentative moment, a flicker maybe, Amir taking Sohrab Kite flying,
Sharing memories of Hassan, the best kite runner ever, who just knew where the kite would land.
and watching Sohrab with the spool. Amir sees it, Hassan's hands. That physical echo, the park, the snow, the crow. It weaves past and present, memory, and this fragile possibility together. Beautiful and painful.
What a journey these passages map out. From childhood innocence, sort of through war, betrayal, trauma.
Yeah, we've seen the weight of the past, the search for redemption, however clumsy the impact of conflict, those incredibly complex bonds of family and loyalty, and the quiet, ongoing struggle with trauma.
And it's impossible to separate these personal stories from the history unfolding in Afghanistan, isn't it?
Yeah.
The characters' lives are just fundamentally shaped by it.
Completely intertwined. So as you think about all this, it really leaves you pondering, doesn't it? What does it actually mean to find a way to be good again after such profound failure or loss?
How do people, or even whole societies, carry that immense weight, the betrayals, the violence, the trauma, and still try to build some kind of future? For themselves and for the next generation. Something to really think about as you explore these sources further.